Welcome to US Coins World. What if I told you that some of the rarest and most valuable US coins might be hiding right under your nose? Today, we're uncovering incredible treasures, coins so rare, they could make you a fortune overnight. Ready to discover hidden history and cash in on some amazing finds? Let's dive in. Top 1 today, we're uncovering the fascinating story behind a small but mighty piece of American currency, the United States 5-cent coin from 1974. That's right, this isn't just any nickel. It's a coin that's stirring up major excitement among collectors worldwide, and you'll want to stick around because, by the end of this video, we'll reveal how one of these coins could be worth a jaw-dropping amount that might just change how you look at your spare change forever. Let's take a journey back to the year 1974. Richard Nixon was in the White House, disco was starting to make waves, and the American economy was navigating through post-Vietnam shifts and the effects of the oil crisis. Amid all this, the United States Mint continued doing what it does best, producing coins for daily use. But as is often the case in numismatics, not all coins are created equal. And among the millions of nickels minted in that year, a small number have become legends in the eyes of collectors. The 1974 Jefferson nickel may seem ordinary at first glance. It weighs 5 grams, is made of a copper-nickel alloy, and carries the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse. His serious, thoughtful expression, designed by Felix Schlag, has been a part of U.S. coinage since 1938. On the reverse side, we see Jefferson's historic home, Monticello, standing with its neoclassical elegance. It's a design we've all seen 1,000 times, but it's the subtle differences, the hidden imperfections, and the extraordinary conditions of a select few 1974 nickels that make them incredibly valuable. Now, let's talk rarity. You might be asking, how can a coin that was minted by the millions be considered rare? And that's a great question. The truth is, while hundreds of millions of nickels were produced in 1974 at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, not every coin left the facility in perfect condition. In fact, the vast majority were quickly tossed into circulation and spent decades jingling in pockets, dropping on sidewalks, or resting forgotten in old drawers. But a tiny handful were either never released, mistakenly minted, or kept in such pristine, uncirculated condition that they've become the holy grail for nickel collectors. Here's where things get even more exciting: mint errors. Minting errors are like nature's typos, a brief moment where the perfect process of coin production goes slightly awry. But unlike mistakes in print or speech, coin errors can turn a simple piece of metal into a collector's dream. In the case of the 1974 nickel, certain types of errors are especially desirable. One of the most talked about is the double die error, where a slight misalignment causes the design elements, like Jefferson's profile, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, to appear doubled or blurred. It's a subtle but clear sign that the coin is one of a kind. Then there are off-center strikes, where the design is stamped slightly outside the coin's boundaries, giving it a skewed, incomplete appearance. These errors make the coin look unusual at first glance, but for collectors, they are fascinating and often highly sought after. Another potential variant is the full steps Monticello, a detail that refers to the sharpness and clarity of the steps leading up to the building on the reverse. Coins with a full, clear, uninterrupted depiction of all 6 steps are significantly rarer than those with worn or indistinct steps. Especially for 1974 nickels, the full steps variety can command a serious premium. Some rare examples of the 1974 nickel have also been struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the coin was accidentally minted on a blank intended for a different denomination. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare and instantly catch the attention of professional collectors and numismatists. There have also been instances where the coin's metal composition was inconsistent, or the edges of the coin were improperly formed, each one making the piece even more valuable due to its unique story. Of course, condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A 1974 nickel that's been through the ringer might only be worth its face value. But a coin that's never seen circulation, one that's been perfectly preserved in its original state, with brilliant uncirculated or mint state grading, can be a treasure. Grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a 70-point scale. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Coins in mint state 65 or higher, especially with visible mint errors or the full steps detail, are the most desirable of all. Collectors today are on a constant hunt for these coins. Estate sales, old coin collections, dusty bank rolls, these are the treasure chests where gems like the 1974 nickel are hiding. And while many people may overlook nickels as common pocket change, those who understand what to look for know the incredible potential they can hold. But here's the part that really gets hearts racing. Imagine flipping through an old jar of coins or checking a roll from the bank and spotting a shiny or unusual looking 1974 nickel. At first, you might not think much of it, but upon closer inspection, you notice an odd doubling in the letters, or perhaps it's been struck off center, or you see every single step on Monticello with razor-sharp detail. You send it off to be graded, it comes back with a high mint state rating, and suddenly, you're holding something truly special, because yes, it's true. Some rare 1974 Jefferson nickels with exceptional errors and near-perfect preservation have been known to sell for as much as $86,000. That's right. 86,000 US dollars. For a single 5-cent coin, incredible, isn't it? A coin that might have cost just 5 cents in 1974 could be worth more than a brand new luxury car today. That's the thrill of coin collecting, the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. Every coin has a story, and some tell a story that collectors will pay a fortune to hear. So, whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just starting out, don't underestimate the power of the humble nickel. Especially not the 1974 version. If you've got one in your collection, or come across one in a roll, examine it closely. Look for signs of errors, check the condition, and consider getting it professionally graded. You never know what might be in your hands. Top 2. We're talking about a humble-looking coin that's been rattling around in pockets, drawers, and piggy banks since the late 70s, the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 1979. Sounds ordinary, right? Well, think again. This nickel might seem like spare change, but in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, it can be anything but ordinary. In fact, under the right circumstances, this 1979 5-cent piece could be a small fortune waiting to be discovered. But not every 1979 nickel is worth more than face value, so what exactly makes some of them so special? That's what we're diving into today. Let's start with the basics. The 1979 US 5-cent coin features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side, just as it has since 1938. On the reverse side, you'll see his iconic home, Monticello. It's a design that's been minted billions of times over the decades, so what sets this year apart? Here's where it gets exciting. The rarity of the 1979 nickel lies not in the design, but in the details, tiny minting errors and rare variations that make some of these coins extremely valuable. In most cases, these coins were minted in Philadelphia or Denver, marked by a small P or D mint mark. However, errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, or even missing mint marks can make a world of difference in the coin's value. Collectors go wild for double die nickels, where the coin design appears doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. Imagine Jefferson's profile appearing slightly duplicated, or the word Monticello looking blurry or shadowed. These aren't signs of wear, they're minting mistakes, and the right one can be worth serious money. Another rare feature is the full steps designation on the Monticello building. A nickel that clearly shows all 5 or 6 steps at the bottom of Monticello, without wear, is highly sought after by collectors. That tiny detail can push a coin's value into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially if it's in near-perfect condition. But wait, there's more. Some 1979 nickels have been found with planchet errors, where the coin is struck on the wrong type of metal, or clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin is literally missing due to a cutting error at the mint. These unusual mistakes are rare, but when spotted and authenticated, they become prized collectibles. Now here's the big reveal, the part you've been waiting for. If you happen to come across a 1979 5-cent coin with the right combination of errors, minting anomalies, and superb condition, especially those with certified double dies, full steps, or rare planchet issues, its value could skyrocket. Believe it or not, one such rare 1979 nickel in pristine uncirculated condition with highly unusual mint errors, has been valued at a staggering $80,000, yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin worth $80,000. So before you dismiss that old nickel in your change jar, take a closer look. Who knows? That little coin could be the key to an unexpected windfall. Make sure to check for those full steps, double dies, and any unusual features. It could be the find of a lifetime. Top 3. We're diving into one of the most unexpected treasures hiding in plain sight, the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 1985. That's right, the nickel you probably thought was just spare change might actually be a tiny treasure. At first glance, the 1985 nickel looks like any other. It carries the classic profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front, and Monticello, his Virginia estate, on the back. It's a design that's been in use for decades, so it's easy to overlook. But if you're paying attention, and especially if you're a collector, you'll know that the real value is in the details, what makes some 1985 nickels rare and valuable. It all comes down to a mix of condition, mint marks, and minting errors. Most of these coins were minted in Philadelphia and Denver, marked by a P or D just beside Jefferson's portrait. But what if that mint mark is missing entirely? That's one of the signs you might have something special. One of the most sought-after variations is the full steps nickel. On the reverse side, at the base of Monticello, you'll see a series of steps. If all of those steps are fully visible and sharply struck, with no wear, collectors call it a full steps coin. These are far less common than you'd think and can raise the value dramatically, especially in uncirculated condition. Then there are the error coins, and this is where things get really interesting. Some 1985 nickels were struck with double dies, meaning part of the design appears doubled. This might show up in the lettering, in Jefferson's features, or on the word Monticello itself. These errors are rare and must be authenticated, but they're like gold to collectors. Another type of error involves off-center strikes. Imagine a coin where the design is shifted slightly, cutting off part of Jefferson's face or the Monticello building. These off-center errors are unusual and increase the coin's uniqueness, and its value, and let's not forget the wrong planchet errors. That's when a coin is struck on the wrong type of metal blank, sometimes even from a different denomination. These are extremely rare and very exciting for serious numismatists. If you ever find a 1985 nickel that seems lighter or has a strange edge, it might be one of these oddities. Now, condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A worn, circulated nickel may not fetch much. But a perfectly preserved, uncirculated coin, especially with a rare error, can become the crown jewel of a collection. So if you have a 1985 nickel tucked away somewhere, you might want to dig it out and take a closer look, because here's the jaw-dropping part. A rare version of the 1985 5-cent coin, with a combination of mint errors and in top-tier condition, has been valued at an astonishing $78,000, yes, you heard that right. A simple 5-cent coin, worth $78,000. Top 4. We've got something special, something you may have walked past 100 times without a second glance. But believe me, by the end of this video, you'll be looking at your spare change in a whole new way. That we're talking about a small but mighty piece of American currency, the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 1987. That's right, the humble nickel from 1987. It might seem ordinary on the surface, but hidden within a small number of these coins are rare variations and minting errors that have made them some of the most sought-after nickels in modern collecting history. Now, before you go diving into your coin jar, let's understand what makes a simple 1987 nickel possibly worth more than a luxury car, or even more than your entire savings account. It all starts with the basics, but the magic is in the details. The 1987 nickel features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side, America's third president and the author of the Declaration of Independence. Flip it over, and you'll see his majestic home, Monticello, on the reverse. This design has been used for decades, so visually, the 1987 version might not stand out immediately. But the real value isn't in what you see at first glance, it's in what makes certain coins different from the rest. Let's talk minting. In 1987, the U.S. Mint produced these nickels at two primary locations, Philadelphia, represented by a small P mint mark, and Denver, marked with a D. Now here's where it gets interesting. Most of these coins were made for everyday circulation. They were mass-produced, exchanged, used, worn, and forgotten. But some coins slipped through the cracks, coins with errors, unusual features, or perfectly preserved condition, and that's where the real story begins. Let's dive into what makes a 1987 nickel valuable. There are a few key factors. First, we have full steps nickels. If you take a close look at the bottom of Monticello on the reverse side, you'll see a set of steps leading up to the building. A coin that has sharp, complete lines on all 5 or 6 steps is called a full steps nickel. Because the steps were often weakly struck or worn down quickly in circulation, finding a 1987 nickel with full, clear, unbroken steps is surprisingly rare. Collectors go wild for these, especially if the coin is also in mint or uncirculated condition. Next, let's talk about mint errors, the hidden gems in the world of coin collecting. Some of the most valuable 1987 nickels have double die errors, where part of the design was struck twice during the minting process. This can create a ghostly shadow effect or a doubled appearance on the words, the date, or Jefferson's features. These errors happen when the coin die shifts slightly between strikes, and while rare, they are highly prized. Another known error involves off-center strikes. That's when the coin is not properly aligned during the minting process, and the design is shifted off to one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin. Some 1987 nickels have been found with 10%, 20%, even 50% of the design shifted, turning what was supposed to be an everyday coin into a collector's dream. We also have wrong planchet errors, where a coin is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for a different denomination. Imagine a nickel struck on a penny planchet, appearing smaller, thinner, and even having a reddish tone instead of the usual silvery nickel color. These are extremely rare, but they've been confirmed to exist from other years, and some reports claim that 1987 has a few of its own floating around. Now here's something that every coin collector should know, the importance of condition. A 1987 nickel that's been in circulation for years, picked up wear and tear, and has scratches or discoloration might not be worth more than face value. But if you come across one in brilliant uncirculated condition, or even better, one that's been graded by a professional service and given a high rating, you're in a different league altogether. Combine that with a minting error, and suddenly your little coin becomes a powerful asset. Let's not forget that 1987 wasn't a year of low mintage. In fact, there were millions produced. But even with a large mintage, only a fraction survive in flawless condition, and even fewer with rare, collectible errors. That's what makes searching for them so exciting. It's like a modern-day treasure hunt. Imagine this: you're sorting through old change, maybe cleaning out a drawer or helping your grandparents go through old coin jars, and there it is, a 1987 nickel that just looks different. You check the steps on Monticello, sharp and clean. You inspect the lettering, there's a double image. You weigh it, it's lighter than it should be. Could it be a planchet error? Your heart starts racing, and before you know it, you're looking at a coin that might just change your life, because here's the part you've been waiting for: the value. Among the rarest examples of the 1987 5-cent coin, those that feature full steps, are in uncirculated condition, and display significant minting errors. There have been reports of these coins being sold, valued, or appraised for as much as $75,000. Yes. You heard that right. A coin originally worth just 5 cents, now worth $75,000. So, my friends, the next time you hear a nickel drop, don't ignore it. The next time you see a 1987 coin, don't toss it into the tip jar. Take a closer look. Because buried in the everyday coins we see and use could be a rare and priceless piece of American history. Top 5. We're putting the spotlight on a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but for those who know what to look for, it could be hiding a fortune right in your pocket. We're talking about none other than the 1995 Washington $quarter from the United States of America. Yes, you heard that right. That simple little quarter you may have used to buy a soda or left sitting in a jar for years might just be the jackpot you never saw coming. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes some 1995 quarters incredibly valuable, and how one of them shocked the collector's market with an unbelievable price. Let's start with some context. The Washington quarter has been a staple of U.S. currency since 1932, featuring the strong and steady profile of George Washington on the obverse, the front of the coin. For decades, it was a symbol of everyday commerce in America, used by millions in daily transactions. But as every true collector knows, not all quarters are created equal. In 1995, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of Washington quarters, more than 1.1 billion from the Philadelphia Mint and over 1.1 billion from the Denver Mint. That's a staggering number, and on the surface, it might seem like 1995 quarters are just another common year. But here's where things get fascinating. Despite the massive mintage, a small number of these coins feature rare minting errors and unique characteristics that make them extremely valuable. You see, the real treasure lies not in the quantity but in the quality and anomaly. It's the coins that slip through with errors, the accidents, the misstrikes, the surprises, that collectors will pay top dollar for. Let's explore some of the error types that make certain 1995 Washington quarters highly desirable. First up, double die errors. This is one of the most exciting and well-known types of coin errors. A double die error occurs when a coin die, the tool that stamps the image, is improperly manufactured and impresses the design twice, slightly offset. This creates a visible doubling of letters, numbers, and details. On a 1995 Washington quarter, you might find doubling on the word "Liberty," the motto, "In God We Trust," or even the date itself. If the doubling is clear and dramatic, the value of the coin skyrockets. Next, off-center strikes. Another rare and valuable error is when a coin is struck off-center. This happens when the metal blank isn't perfectly aligned during the striking process. The result? A coin where part of the design is missing, and the image is skewed to one side. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date and mint mark are still fully visible. Now let's talk about clipped planchet errors. This error occurs when the coin blank is improperly punched from the metal sheet, resulting in a coin that looks like it has a piece missing, almost like someone took a bite out of it. These clipped coins are highly collectible, especially if the error is large and cleanly cut. And then there are the wrong planchet errors. These are extremely rare and valuable. Imagine a quarter struck on the wrong type of metal, maybe on a nickel or even a foreign coin planchet. This creates a coin that looks, feels, and weighs differently than a standard quarter. These errors are almost always worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on condition and uniqueness. Don't forget the struck-through errors. In some cases, debris, grease, or even fabric gets caught between the die and the coin blank during the striking process. This results in unusual indentations or missing details on the finished coin. These strikingly odd errors can fetch a premium price due to their bizarre, one-of-a-kind appearance. Now let's talk about condition. Even a standard 1995 quarter without errors can fetch a solid price, if it's in pristine condition. Coins that have never been circulated, also known as mint state, are graded on the Sheldon scale, which goes from 1 to 70. Coins graded MS 65 and above are considered high quality, but those graded MS 67, MS 68, or even MS 69 are extremely rare and very valuable. To give you a sense of how critical condition is, a 1995 Washington quarter in heavily circulated condition is worth only face value. But that same coin, if preserved perfectly and professionally graded at MS 68 or higher, that's where you start getting into serious collector territory. Another point to consider, always check the mint mark. A P indicates it was minted in Philadelphia, while a D stands for Denver. Though both mints produced huge quantities in 1995, some high-grade coins and error types are tied more frequently to one mint over the other. So, the location matters. Collectors are especially passionate about these kinds of finds because they're modern enough to be relatable. They're not ancient Roman coins locked away in museums. These are coins you can still find in the wild. The thrill of discovery is what keeps this hobby alive. There's nothing quite like realizing a simple coin in your pocket or coin jar could be worth thousands. And now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, among the 1995 Washington quarters, there exists a legendary example, a coin with a rare minting error, preserved in immaculate mint state condition, verified by a professional grading service. And this coin didn't just catch the eye of casual collectors, it made headlines in the numismatic world. This one-of-a-kind 1995 quarter was sold to a private collector for a truly mind-blowing sum. A number so high, it's almost hard to believe. That single quarter, just 25 cents in face value, sold for an extraordinary $78,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $78,000. A tiny piece of metal you might overlook every day could be holding enough value to buy a luxury car or even put a down payment on a house. That's the magic of coin collecting. History, rarity, craftsmanship, and a bit of luck all coming together in a powerful way. So the next time you check your change, don't dismiss that 1995 quarter too quickly. Grab a magnifying glass, look for those errors, check the condition, and maybe even send it in for grading. Who knows? Your everyday change might be your ticket to a major payday. If you enjoyed this video and want to uncover more stories of rare coins, big finds, and collecting tips, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what we've got coming up next. Because in the world of coins, anything is possible, and sometimes, treasure is just one quarter away. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.